supposed to be the hottest day of the year.
All right, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. Welcome to another episode of 1 Million Cups. My name is Donnell Johnson. I'm your host for today's episode. When we're talking about entrepreneurship, community, and education, the three pillars of 1 Million Cups. Next slide. All right, our mission. The mission of 1 Million Cups is to lower the barrier of access to education, resources, and connecting for all types of new and aspiring entrepreneurs throughout the United States. Members like you. Next slide. Our key pillars. We do presentations, not pitches, authentic connections, not networking. We run for the community and by the community. Our culture is safe and supportive. 1 Million Cups is co-owned by all who support and show up to this meeting. We are organizers, presenters, and attendees. We are highly inclusive. 1 Million Cups is 100% volunteer-led, and we also rotate our volunteers to do different roles in our organization. And we are fueled by our presenter pipeline and our community. Reminder, we are, live on Facebook, so please be kind and gracious. One way that you can help is you can attend each week, provide amazing feedback, engage with us online, and sign in and get our newsletter. Go to our 1 Million Cups /Facebook page. Next slide. We are blessed to have some amazing organizers, with the exception of that first guy on the far left at the top. We have Jen Dalton, Tony Barnett, Myosha Mendez, John Yu, Melinda Siegel, John Rutenberg, Renetta Jones, Marnie Miller, and Rosemarie Savino. Let's give our presenters a round of applause real quick. Thank you for volunteering to be here. We could not do this without our sponsors. Our sponsor every month, as far as space is concerned, is Office Evolution. I'm gonna turn it over to Sylvia to give a few words about Office Evolution.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sylvia Ferguson, and I'm the Business Center Manager of Office Evolution here in Tyson's Corner. At Tyson's Corner, we provide beautiful and affordable office space, such as private offices, conference rooms, co-working. We also have virtual services, such as phone service and a professional business address. So if you are in need or if of any of our services, I will put my information in the chat, and yeah, I would love to talk to you more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. Next up, we have Simon Law Firm with Phyllis.
Thanks, Donnell. Good morning. My name is Phyllis Simon, and I'm an intellectual property attorney. The mission of my practice is to help small businesses understand trademarks, copyrights, and patents. When people think of intellectual property, they often think about protecting their own IP. The flip side of that is making sure you're not inadvertently infringing on the trademarks, copyrights, or patents of others. I work with businesses to develop strategies and best practices to protect their own intellectual property and reduce the risk of being sued by others, all while keeping in mind your business goals and budget. During today's presentation, I'll be dropping little bits of information in the chat on how you can protect your own trademarks, copyrights, and patents. I hope you find them useful.
I know I'll find them useful every week, Phyllis. Thank you for sharing those, and we're happy to have you as one of our sponsors, our coffee sponsors this week. Enjoy the coffee. It is brought to you by Simon Law Firm. All right. Here's how our virtual meetings work. Please mute your microphones if they're not muted already. There is a hand icon. Please click that hand icon when you have a question. When the presenter opens it up for questions, they'll say your name. Once they say your name, unmute your microphone, say your name, and then ask your question, and then put your microphone back on mute. Thank you so much. Next slide. All right, we are going to turn this over to Oculi. Hopefully I'm saying that right, and seize your time. In fact, he is going to switch over to his slides, so give him 1 bat second to make that happen.
Do you do that or do I do that? Oh, he did.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Charbel Rizik, and as I'll skip over, it's Oculi, by the way, so you got it right. And we definitely would like to hear from you all about the what market we should target first, because as you're going to learn real quick, we have a technology that can go in many different directions. Before I tell you more about our technology, let me just share with you a quick science lesson that I believe it would make the our story more understandable. So you're all familiar right now with what's happening in the world of autonomous driving, and typically you have cameras installed everywhere, and they're dumping a lot of data on processors. Eventually, all of that is happening to extract information to allow the car to drive by itself. And that process today, despite all the technology that goes into these cars, is very slow. Okay, and I want to show you how it compares to your vision and my vision, and your brains and my brains. On the other hand, humans have eyes that are a lot more powerful sensors than any cameras that we have today. And yet we can do the whole thing from seeing to understanding in 13 milliseconds. So that's many, many times faster than the fastest technology that we have today deployed. And so the science question for you is really, why is human vision a lot more efficient than machine vision? And when machine vision is slow, here's what you end up with. So you definitely don't want to be the person walking the street testing any of this new technology yet, because it still doesn't work very well. Okay, and notice these cars are not moving fast, and you and I can clearly see that a person stopped the car much earlier, but this is not happening yet with the technology that's out there today. The reason for that really is simple, is our cameras were developed not to drive machine vision, not to drive autonomous cars. Cameras were developed to simply reproduce an image as closely as possible, reflecting what we see. And processors, on the other hand, really evolved. They were initially developed to do basic calculation, like a calculator, and then became kind of more of a desktop, to do a Word and various applications for the desktop, and then became internet browsing, and then lately it's becoming more and more on the AI processing side. But they're still being developed really independently of the sensors. So nobody is realizing that in order to get something as efficient and as fast as human vision, you have to build both the sensors and the processors together to optimize the combination, because that's basically how we are. Our eyes and brains were optimized to work well together. And so technology has to move in that direction in order to achieve similar results. And that's pretty much what we're doing with Oculi as a company. We have a single chip. It's called the sensor and processor unit. And it basically builds the sensing and the processing in the same chip and optimizes the interactions with them. Very similar to what I mentioned earlier between the human eye and the human vision. And because we are a single chip and efficient and fast, we can obviously, we're ideal for edge applications. And to give you a quick landscape today, all these cars that I mentioned earlier driving around, they have various types of hardwares deployed. The combination that exists today is either, as I mentioned, either too slow or not fast enough, as I showed you in the video, but none of them can fit in a small constrained environment like the edge. Okay, they're all still big and bulky today. The Oculi SPU can eventually deliver a solution that's small and efficient. And the reason for that is really we have built an architecture that mimics the nature as best as we can do it in silicon today. And we haven't done that all under Oculi. All of you guys live in the DC area, so we benefited from, I still hold a position, in the interest of full disclosure, at Johns Hopkins. I'm a professor there. And that's basically where most of the research had taken place. And now Oculi is developing that into a commercial product. So we have a lot of heritage behind the technology. And this is currently our team. It's the best part of being on a startup are the individuals you work with. And so I just didn't want you to think I've done all the work. I actually did not. They did most of the work. I'm the messenger for today. And I'm happy to take questions and turn it back over to you all.
Now that is super cool. You are our best presenter so far today. I'm gonna turn this over to Melinda for Q&A. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Great presentation. Melinda, you're on mute. Everything you just said, nobody heard.
Thank you. First of all, we want everybody to get a chance to ask questions, so please be respectful of time. And keep your questions short, sweet, and simple. And then when you're speaking, obviously you have your mic on. When you're done speaking, please turn off your mic.
Put his challenge question back up, please.
Yeah. Oh, I just moved it. So give me 1 second. The question was target audience, and I've got to just move back in the deck. So hold on 1 second. Oops, that didn't do it. Oh, great. Let me get out of here. Hold on. My computer's not cooperating. PowerPoint, there we go.
Why doesn't,
I got it. Oh,
You got it?
thank you, John. Jump in.
well, I was going to offer to do Q&A while you get that up, but perhaps our presenter can just restate his challenge question real quick.
Sure. So it's basically, so we're in the business of smart vision, computer vision, and we can go in many different directions. And we're engaging with a lot of markets and customers, potential customers. And but everybody tells us we should pick one and go for it initially, which is important for a startup. So I'm looking for everybody's thoughts on which area we should focus on, which market.
So raise your physical hands if you would like to ask questions.
Yeah, and
And I see Jeff Englander right off the bat. Jeff, hit it.
First of all, excellent presentation. I love the length, right? Really short, right to the point. So the question I have for you is, why did you develop the product in the first place? What problem were you trying to solve? And so to that end, is it really for autonomous cars to be better? Or maybe the technology to be faster? But is it only cars that would benefit from your technology? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
So the heritage for this technology is obviously the military, because it was funded for that purpose, and it's to make autonomous systems in that world better, all around, faster, smaller, smarter. That's the heritage for it.
Okay, and what you're trying to do, and a quick follow-up question is, you're trying today to see if there's additional markets out there for your technology in addition to autonomous cars. Did I get that right?
I mean, there are additional markets. We can't pursue all of them with the same focus. So we are trying to kind of pick which one should be our first winner.
Got it. Thank you.
Melinda, you ready?
yeah, I'm ready. Eddie Lloyd, you've got your question, and Lisa Shapiro next. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Good morning. I wondered whether, in terms of who should you target, autonomous vehicles, of course, the drone market, I would see as a good market for this type of product. What do you think?
Yeah, it's one of the ones that's certainly on our target list. The key for this technology, for you all's benefit, it's basically a silicon chip. It's a single chip, and pricing is function of volume. So in order to bring the cost down, you have to find high volume opportunities.
Could you actually tell us a little bit more about what other markets you've actually looked into that might actually help focus kind of our comments and questions?
Sure, sure. I mean, we are in the world of industrial. So the world of, I mean, the market of machine vision is split into three areas about equal in size. One is industrial, where you have industrial automation, industrial assembly, industrial inspections, you know, for defects. And the other pillar, really, there are like three pillars about the same size. The other one is consumer, you know, cameras are everywhere, right? On your cell phones, on your tablets, on your laptops. And the third one is basically, I'm drawing blank right now. I got to go back to my cheat sheet. The world of automotive, which actually was the one we started with. So in auto right now, whether it's autonomous driving or even assisted driving, more and more sensors and smarts are being put on cars. So these are the three areas, and within each of them, we are talking to various players.
The next people I've got are Rosemary first, then Lisa, and then Reggie.
I will unmute them. Thank you for that presentation. As a science nerd myself, I loved hearing about it. I think the approach of putting processing and vision on a chip will be obviously revolutionary. Glad to hear that someone's trying to commercialize it. Your challenge question about who should we target, you had mentioned in the presentation that you've already got people using it. Is that happenstance the people that are using it, or did you reach out to people who are using it? And the reason I'm asking is there one set or one characteristic of user, whether it's feature functionality or segmentation, that is really kind of running with it, that will help you focus on who to target?
Yeah, good question. We're right now, so it's not in production yet. We do have customers, paid customers, and we're doing pilot projects with them. And the you know, because we build only the Oculi delivers basically the SPU chip. So we have to find partner companies that take our chip and build it into products and solutions, because we don't sell directly to the end user. Okay.
So are there, you said that you're in pre-production testing mode, correct, with producers?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a what they call reference designs. You
Okay.
know, you basically build a solution for a particular customer, and if they like it, then they start building a product around it, and then we will provide the chip to them. Okay,
so for those reference designs, is there a specific commercial vertical that you're finding you're getting some traction in?
So if you know, I mean, it would help if Melinda let me share the screen a little bit. I can actually show you the three kind of that I mentioned in audio form, but it would help you kind of. So we have traction actually in these three areas that I mentioned earlier. It's a question of, you know, everybody says as a startup, you really need to focus, put one area in mind, and put all your eggs in that basket. And so far it's been hard for us to pick a winner, because every one of them can grow in a very good way. And so we're looking for, you know, everyone's input here to what would be the most, put yourself in our shoes, which one would you bet on?
So this will be my last comment, but as a startup myself, and having had these conversations with this community and with other organizations, talking to these people and getting a common thread will help you pick. And whichever one you pick, if it doesn't pan out, pick the next one. Sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I mean, we obviously within our team we have our favorite. Now we're looking for fresh ideas from all of you.
Next, we have Lisa. Lisa, I've called you a few times. I don't know if your hand is up accidentally. You're muted.
Yeah, so I have a question. So I feel like because you've already developed an MVP and you have essentially carved out these three possible customer segments, and you're looking to explore all three. My question is very similar to what the last commenter said, is not really about working with one and then if it doesn't work, try the next, but really going out, and I agree with her, really going out and digging into that customer segment and doing some customer discovery. Because if you're going to, follow lean startup methodology, then I think the idea here is to talk to the players in each of these customer segments, talk to the people who are in the industrial industry, talk to the people who are in the consumer industry, automotive, et cetera, and figure out which one of these customer segments, one, really need what you offer right now and are willing to pay for it. Because if you're really wanting to market your product, you need to be able to figure out who's willing to pay for it. And I think the only way to really do that is through customer discovery.
Thank you.
Next, I have Reggie, and then John Yu and Deb Cohen.
Thanks. Great presentation. I was just thinking about how this might be useful in a construction setting, just to ensure safety. Like as machines and people work together more, we'll want to ensure the safety of people working in those environments, whether it's industrial or building buildings and structures. So I think that is, I don't know which of these that sort of fits under, probably industrial. But I think there's application there for just using the benefits of the technology to be able to ensure safety in these types of settings. So I don't know, that's my idea.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it is industrial, you got it right, and it is collision avoidance. It's actually what we're showing. We're not showing tractors there, but it's the same idea.
Yeah. Great.
Next is John Yu, and then Deb Cohen, and then Bob.
So I understand there are other chip manufacturers like Intel and NVIDIA, and you mentioned about partnerships. So are they your competitors in this type of field, or do you consider them to be a partner?
So they're not really a direct competitors, because they at least the two you mentioned focus mostly on processing platforms, and we really have a new vision. And like you said, one person said correctly, this is really a revolutionary change in the architecture, not an evolutionary change. We are bringing sensing and processing together on the same technology and same chip. And today there are no other companies trying to do that. And so the Intels and NVIDIAs of the world will pay attention when we start, gaining, market traction.
So follow on to that is I agree with Lisa. I think going through those verticals that you listed here and reaching out and figuring out which of these verticals that you're solving their biggest challenges, right? Which of these have the biggest pain that your solution or product solution addresses?
Yep.
Okay, next is Deb Cohen.
Morning, everyone. Deb Cohen, management consultant, specializing in HR and leadership. So my thought is, and I agree with what's been said, but while what you're doing is unique, you may still want to take a look at these different segments and see where the most competition is and where people are more recognized, and then also where the most uptake might be for you. So for example, if I look at industrial versus automotive, those two, there are certainly some similarities and there's some, machine technology. But if I look at the middle, the consumer, gesture tracking, for example, or deep blurring of video, those are very commercial uses where you might have, if you're looking for huge uptake from people, like the next Instagram or something like that, then you might want to look at that market segment versus, so the question is, do you want to make money or do you want to do good? You might want to do both, but you really need to take a very practical look at the market, I think, in terms of, where the potential uptake is going to be for you. There can certainly be future uses and applications to industrial and automotive if you start in consumer, for example. So I think you really want to take a look at the market and where are you most likely to gain traction first. And maybe you've done this already. I don't know.
I had
I actually, you know, there is a hint on this chart that we did at least for the near term pick our winner. I don't know if you guys picked up on that or not. I'll leave it as a clue here and see if any of you will pick it up.
Okay, I wanted to ask a quick question. I'm going to go back to the group. I started thinking of more on the consumer end and on the people end, and I thought about a big industry, which would be the B2B, and it would be the security industry. And then I started thinking about sports like the NFL, Major League Baseball, and having your product being able to make sure that things are safe in stadiums and other types of places. Also, religious communities, they televise their Sunday morning or Friday night services, just to throw things out there. Those may be some other markets that you can look at.
Thank you.
Next person up is Bob Prothern.
Prothero.
I'm not saying, how do you say it, Bob?
Prothero.
Prothero. Thank you.
That's it. Hi there. Good morning. Bob Prothero from PTIP Consulting. I'm trying to gauge kind of the cost of implementation, and I'm curious what the power requirements are and any support circuitry for a basic implementation, and then the cost of the unit itself in volume, say millions of pieces annual volume.
So we obviously have a clear advantage in power and the infrastructure required to run it, because it's really a self-contained solution, a whole computer vision on a single chip, and so there isn't much required externally. And like I said, it does have significant power savings. On volume costs, really, it will cost about $1 or $2 a piece if we can produce it in that kind of volume.
Yeah, very good.
Yep.
And how much? You know, it's the video, the camera solution, and the processor on a single chip. And I'm curious how much bandwidth is available for processing beyond just the actual capture and the video itself. I mean, can you move significant recognition algorithms onto the chip itself and have it process it there, or do you pre-process and then push that out to a co-processor in a typical?
Yeah. I mean, these are good questions, and we actually do a good bit of processing on the chip. We don't just capture only.
Okay.
And we do the pre-processing for sure, because that's actually how, if we go back to nature, you know, your eyes, you know, do a lot of pre-processing before they send it to the brain.
Right.
The pipeline between your eyes and your brain is very small.
Right. And can a host system kind of push some of the capture requirements onto the chip? Say I'm looking for such and such, or give it some kind of close classifications within an AI algorithm that it can match against and find against.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that, you know, Bob, can we hire you? I was gonna announce that late at the end, but that's exactly a lot of the benefits of this technology. It's not fixed in time or in mode. It actually is dynamic between the external world, because that's how your eyes and your brain really work.
Right, right.
So that we have really mimicked that architecture in silicon.
Right. No, that's fantastic. And I guess when I was hearing your pitch, which is great, by the way, I was thinking about, you know, this is really an enabling technology for a lot of new fields, and one of the challenges with an enabling technology is the lead time. If that target market has a lot of market development to do to bring something new and revolutionary to the market, then your lead times to volumes tend to lag, and you're fully dependent on them. So what I was thinking is, you know, there's a lot of things to explore long-term and nurture and develop long-term, but in the short term, it would seem to me some of the like manufacturing automation and other things that currently use vision systems that could take them to the next level of performance and feature robustness would be really good target markets for this, because they already have an existing pool of products that you fit right into, and that may give you some quicker volume and revenue.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
Next, we have the 3Ms, Murat, then Marnie, and then Marvin Powell.
Hi, it's a great product, it seems like. Now, one thing I want to ask you, the challenge in self-driving cars is stereo vision, because our eyes see in stereo, and we can understand depth very quickly. Can you implement this in your system without extensive processing that needs afterwards? That's
Yeah, I
probably,
mean, yeah, that's definitely one of the areas where we would be a killer solution for. The only challenge with automotive for us is it takes 5 years before you see any money, and as a startup, you really can't survive for 5 years just waiting for that first check from the auto industry. So it is definitely one of our killer apps, but a year or two later, not the first one.
yeah. I mean, I know Tesla is pretty quick on adapting. Actually, like some companies do it with LiDAR, like with laser rangefinders.
Yeah, yeah.
And if Tesla is definitely in search for it, because they cannot distinguish between a splat of paint or an object. So this technology might help them. And
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny. Tesla comes up quite often, and so I don't have a Twitter account, so I may have to sign up for a Twitter account to talk to Elon Musk. But we definitely have a story that would be very appealing to Tesla. But how quickly they move, like I said, it's not clear to us. But if you have a good contact there, I'm happy to engage them.
I know the other companies, like other automotive companies are very slow, but Tesla seems like it's quite fast. And the main question that you asked is, who should you focus? As you said, you don't have time as a startup. You don't have time to wait for one company, and if it works or not, then you fail or succeed. So you have to do in parallel. You cannot just focus on, I think, one company or one industry, because sometimes they just don't work. Or, like, for example, the virtual reality glasses. Google came up with Google Lens and Oculus and all that stuff, but most of them disappeared very quickly. And if you're the manufacturer for that, you would go bankrupt. So you have to go. It seems like you have enough manpower with the picture that you show us, that you can track multiple companies at the same time, multiple industries. What do you think?
No, I mean, that's what we're doing now. It's just the investors. So we are in fundraising mode, right? And you go to investors and you show them this picture, and I personally thought this would be a great story, but investors look at it as like, okay, these guys don't know what they're doing, So you have to, and so even within, so let's say we pick one area, consumer. There are still multiple companies within the consumer space that you have to talk with, and every conversation takes time, So even though we have a decent sized team, not everybody is doing sales, not everyone is doing business development, right? So this is a deep tech company, so most of the people you saw are really hardcore engineers, right? We don't have a lot of horsepower in the sales and the business development side of it. So it has definitely been an interesting journey for me. Like I said, coming from a very different background, this is my first startup, and it's been an interesting journey.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you need somebody that knows business and fundraising and I guess selling.
Sure. Well, like I said, we are, at the end, I have a pitch, or not a pitch. I was gonna say that we are looking to recruit more good people on the team. So that's one announcement I normally make at the end. The other announcement I normally make at the end is I do know a few things about technology, And if any of you have any need for a quick advice on any topic, as being part of this community, not only are we here just to connect with you guys and get your thoughts, but I'm happy to offer my help as well. Okay, so I posted my email on the chat box.
And we've got a bunch of questions, so if you guys can keep it short, that would be great. Marnie, you're next, then Marvin Powell, and then Phyllis Simon.
Sure, I'll make this super quick. So obviously, you have a recommended track that you're choosing. I'm questioning the gesture tracking. Is that aligned with the medical community?
Marnie, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Is the gesture tracking aligned with the medical community? Is that the same idea?
That's one area we are actually actively exploring. Yeah, we have a conversation going on with a plastic surgeon who actually uses a VR a set to actually do his surgeries every day.
So the other side of that, I guess, where I was thinking with medical is for the patient with any sort of vision impairment, and that goes to kind of aligning with what Deb was saying, where you have to balance the profit along with the emotional side, and I always go with the emotional side, but assuming these are all profitable, where's your gut? Like, where do you want to make a difference in the world? And that's where I would just head down, go.
That's a good one. In fact, I have a colleague of mine, and he's my partner in the crime. Chad is is with us as well, and Chad and I are of the mindset that we want to make a difference in the world. That doesn't appeal to investors, so we're not disclosing that up front. But that eventually, when we have our footing, we are gonna make a big splash in areas that make a big impact. In fact, in my day life, at the university, I actually have a project now developing a visual aid for the blind that will eventually benefit from this technology. So
awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Marvin Powell.
And please don't disclose to any investors what I'm telling you here. This is a group of friends here.
So it was just an amazing presentation, and you do have an amazing product, and you've already figured out that automotive is the market that you should go after. I'm glad you're exploring and looking for other things, but your reasoning for not sticking with automotive because it's going to take so long, to me, it seems like if you had the right relationships, this would be a non-issue. If you had the right relationships with the right investors and the right partners, then one, you'd have the money to either wait the five years that it's going to take, or you'd have the money to explode that market right now and explore that opportunity right now. So my question to you is, how do you build the right relationships to get what you want, what your product is going to be perfect for, instead of trying to pivot to find some strange alternative hybrid, to figure out where you should go next?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is true, and we have actually tried that. We have the right relationships in the auto space early on. What happened to us is a lot of bad money got thrown into autonomous driving early on, and so a lot of investors have lost serious money now because most of these companies are not going to go anywhere. And autonomous driving was supposed to be available in 2019, and then 2020, and then 21, 22, 23, and the number keeps going, right? And so a lot of companies that were funded early on thinking they're going to make revenue anytime soon, now they're either going bankrupt or asking for more money. So the whole if you go to investors now, at least in Silicon Valley, and you say, okay, here's a technology that would be disruptive in the auto space, it's a toxic conversation for them. They've been burned already, and so we're waiting for that to settle a little bit. That's on on the investor side. But we've talked to Ford, GM, Toyota. They talk to 50 companies at the same time. So they give you a little bit of money, and they drag you along for a long time before you actually end up getting anything serious from them. And so, it's definitely, we tried it, we focused on it for a bit early on. But I personally hate fundraising. This is not something, I like. This is not what I wanted to do in the startup. I wanted to really change the world, not go talk to investors that, all I know is how to count money and try to explain something to them so that's not, so I wanted to really get the company going in a direction where we have revenue early on and we depend less and less on investors. That's really our strategy.
So basically, you confirm what I thought. You need the right people to fall in love with you. Everybody's looking at you, but nobody's falling in love with you. And that's the deal right there. The people who actually are excited about your mission and passionate about what you offer are going to be the people that are going to support this. And they're out there. You haven't already found them. Trust me. You have found some people who want to look at you, but you haven't found any people who are looking for you. And that's the difference between making this happen tomorrow versus making it happen 5 years from now.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, you're absolutely right on that one. We haven't found love at first sight yet. We're having too many engagements.
Right. And so you got to sharpen your pencil and really go back to, identifying those who really want you, need you, and will trust you today. And stop worrying about, you don't have to do any more product development. You don't have to do any more marketing studies. You don't have to do any more pivoting. You just go after what you need to go after, but you actually do the right tools to go after it. And that tool always will be relationships.
Okay, great.
Next, we have Phyllis, and then we have Jeff Englander.
Well, that was a great presentation. Thank you so much for coming today. I see your technology has two big advantages. One is time in terms of image processing speed, and the other is space in terms of storage of the video files. So I'm a little bit unclear of what the current role of Oculi is. Is it that you're continuing to perfect this chip, or are you now shifting towards integration into various systems and you're just trying to figure out which systems to integrate into?
Yeah, we do obviously have future upgrades. This is the tip of the iceberg, but we do have a chip that's pretty mature and tested and validated, and that's the one we're trying to find the markets for. Okay, and the way the process works is that you go to companies and you build, you do a pilot project with them. You basically build on top of the chip something that resembles a solution that they will commercialize. And if they like it, then they come around and they say, okay, we want to make a commitment to buy so many of these chips over this period of time for this particular product. And and so that's kind of where we are now in that mode.
Okay. So my husband works with machine vision in academic research, and as a professor yourself, you know that labs, you either build it yourself or you buy it, and it's very much easier to buy things off the shelf. So do you think that you could produce like a camera computer bundle unit to sell to research groups, and they could act as your beta testers? You could work with, because it would be a larger group than what you're working with now in-house, but at the same time, you could still fine-tune some of the things that end users might need.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question. That was actually my initial intuition and gut feel, because what you said something that was absolutely right. I am the first customer for the technology we developed, right? We chose to develop instead of buy because there was nothing to buy. So I've been in the world of autonomy and AI for 30 years. And every time I'm working on a new system, I have to actually go and end up with a mediocre solution. So we developed it as an answer to our needs first. And but building few of those units and selling them is a good thing for us. Like you said, it increases our user base, but it doesn't motivate the investor community. I mean, they want you to show up, because we've tried that angle as well, and we have few of those units already out there, and so they want you to show that the Teslas of the world are willing to buy 10 million chips over 3 years. That's kind of the litmus test that they use. So, it is possible, like Marvin said earlier, we haven't found the right investor, and that's quite possible. But at least most of the ones we've engaged so far, they come back and say, show me the killer app, the one that's going to buy, millions of your chips. And that's what we're focusing on right now.
Jeff, you're next.
Okay, thanks, and I appreciate it. And Sharp, great presentation. Two quick thoughts. One, what Phil said was spot on. That there are many companies out there, big companies that have R&D efforts that are usually very expensive and slow. Like, not to pick on my former employer, but they're really good people, but they don't necessarily do things quickly. And that's GE. They have a huge operation both here in New York as well as in India, and that's all they do is R&D work in these two facilities. But I tell you right now, if you can help them out, they're GE's into healthcare, they're into renewables, they're into locomotives. So locomotives, you're like, what do I want to talk about that for? Well, that's collision avoidance, right? So that's a real need that is present right now. There's too many accidents at railroad crossings, and so if you can help them, that's something that could be used right now. In healthcare, I'm almost sure there are applications that they could come up with if you were to present to GE Healthcare. And there's other companies too, like Xerox, as well as IBM is another one's come to mind, probably John Deere and Caterpillar. Again, going to this whole concept of trying to avoid collisions, trying to determine other things with your very powerful processor. So the way I hear about investors is if you don't already have the relationships, if you are very successful in sales, they'll be coming to you. And that's what you want. So again, my focus, I think you're right, is to stay away from trying to recruit investors / fundraising, but rather going out and trying to talk to people who can use your chips. And that's just my suggestion. So to go to your original question, target market, I would talk to the R&D efforts within big companies to see if indeed you can help them complete their mission.
Okay,
thanks.
Great, thanks.
One of the things that I thought of as Jeff was just talking is the Amazons of the world who started as a warehouse company, and the whole idea of warehousing and again, safety in warehouses. You could also interview CEOs that you'd like to get to know by being an entrepreneur with a big idea and reality of the growth of your industry, even just to find out how did they do it? What was their secret sauce? And if you go to them and ask them these questions, they may mentor you and they may jump in as your partner and fall in love with you the way Marvin Powell suggested, just as one idea.
Maybe I'm just too ugly.
Then you need somebody on your team that can do some of that for you and then bring you into the call.
Yeah, sure.
And that's the other way to do it, because if it's not you personally, you can have one of your team or hire somebody to do that and then be with them all the way. They'll just open the doors and then you'll do your thing and talk about it, which works really well. I don't see any other hands raised, and I know we're starting to run close in time. Marvin, do you have your final question of the day? Not Marvin, Danelle, excuse me. Danelle.
We do. I'm not as good looking as Marvin, but I've always wanted to be. He's a really cool guy, and thank you for being here, Marvin. Cabrillo, thank you so much. You had an amazing presentation. My final question to you is, what can our 1 Million Cups community do for you?
I mean, like I was already, connecting with you all was a good thing for us, and just sharing that, because this is a homegrown kind of in the DC, Baltimore area. That's where this whole technology started, and is calling home for now. And so, we would love, any assistance. You guys heard our story, kind of what are the good and the bad side of our story. And so any help along any of those fronts. I mean, a lot of your comments today were very good, and certainly will help us kind of in our thought process going forward. And we are looking to grow the team, as I mentioned, both prettier faced, the right contact, as Marvin said, as well as the, technical side. We are looking to hire more on the technical side as well. And so, spread the word about us, and we're happy to talk to anybody on that front. And again, I'm extending a rain check for anybody who has an itch in technology and they want a quick answer. feel free to reach out to me and I'm happy to help.
No, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. The cool part is every week I'm blown away by the people that we have on our that come to 1 Million Cups on a weekly basis. I thought we had stumped them today, and they came through like gangbusters and gave you some great feedback. So again, thank you, Oculi, Cabrillo, and your team for everything that you're doing. Next week, we have Triangle Works Corporation. So visit us next week, and we'll give them the same love that we gave Oculi. So we have openings May 19th and May 26th. If you haven't presented at 1 Million Cups, please put in your application. It takes us about 2 weeks to get you approved and get you all of the information. But we're looking for new presenters. You apply at 1millioncups.com/Fairfax. You can see that down in the bottom left-hand corner right next to the 1 Million Cups logo, if you haven't done that already. As far as events, these are the events that are coming up within the next within this month. I know we have Jen from the chamber up. Jen, do you have any information that you want to share?
Yeah, mercifully, it's a slow week for the chamber, coming off of a 4-event week last week, but there are some good things going on this week. On Thursday, the SBDC is doing a future of customers and consumer behavior at 9 o'clock. Also on Thursday at noon, the Mason Enterprise Center is doing a webinar on employees versus contractors, what small businesses need to know. So there's some good stuff. Check out the events link there that's on the slide. I'm always updating it with good stuff.
You absolutely are, and thank you so much. We want to thank everybody for coming out to 1 Million Cups. This is, like we talked about earlier, we've been around for 3 years and we've been helping entrepreneurs for 3 years. And we started on Valentine's Day because we love business owners. So next slide. The Kaufman Foundation, we work with communities in entrepreneurship and education to increase opportunities to allow people to learn, to take risk and on their own success and their own successes and be uncommon. So thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate that. One last thing that I have to share. So I have an event coming up this Saturday at Fort Belvoir. If you're in the area and you have a DOD ID card or a real ID and you want to come out and support veteran and military spouse-owned businesses, please come out and do that. We have a performer starting at 4 o'clock. Before that, we have a DJ starting at noon, and we have a fashion show, as well as 35 veteran and military spouse-owned businesses. All you have to do is Google Veteran Business Expo. If you Google Veteran Business Expo, it'll give you all of the information and the start times and all of that to get you a free ticket. You do not have to have a ticket to come to the event. You can just show up anytime between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m.
Janelle, do you want to put a link in the chat?
I'll definitely put a link in the chat.
So everybody, don't forget to save your chat.
Well,
thank you for coming. Yeah.
Barbara, can you put your contact information in the chat?
Sure. Yeah, I did that before, but I see that there has been now. Melinda, do you email the chat box, because there are a lot of good comments there, so that would be great.